Hey everyone, and welcome to the Uncorked Corner podcast, where we cover the full spread of food and beverage industry topics. My name is Bianca, PR and marketing professional by day and food and wine connoisseur by night.
And my name is Nick, an accountant with a passion for barbecue, beer, and whiskey. Today we welcome Mark Ray. Mark is the owner and cider maker at Stowe Cider in Vermont.
In this episode, Mark takes us through the variety of ciders that Stowe has available, why their ciders are perfect for people with an active lifestyle, and some of the best ways to experience their cider at home and on site.
If you enjoy this podcast, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to us. With that said, let's welcome Mark to the show.
Welcome, Mark. We are so excited to have you on today for the podcast. Can you start by giving us a little bit of background on Stowe Cider and what led you to founding Stowe in the first place?
Yeah, well, thank you, Uncorked, so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about cider and especially Stowe Cider. Stowe Cider has been around since 2013, and we've stuck with the same mission since day one, and that's to create dry and crisp, easy to drink ciders.
Nice. And so do you have any background prior to starting Stowe Cider on, in the alcohol industry or in cider in general or anything like that?
So I came from a background of enjoying cider and beer. The truth is, I wasn't very good at making beer. That requires following rules, temperatures and ingredients at certain times. And that never worked out for me. So, I find myself to be more of a chef than a baker in the sense of being able to have the flexibility of blending and adding and changing ingredients based on seasonality. And so that's kind of where I stepped in. When I decided that I wanted to get into cider making, I was out in Colorado, living and enjoying the craft boom at the time. A big part of Avery Brewing Company, and enjoying and working with a lot of their brewers and employees there. And with that, it really sparked my interest in a big way. But despite many efforts in making beer with the brewers there at Avery, I failed miserably. So I was really good at drinking the beer, but never good at making it. So I knew there was something there. And so I took that to my garage. And in my garage, I was able to produce cider that I enjoyed drinking. And my friends, they didn't spit it out. So I knew it wasn't that bad and that maybe I was onto something. So I ran with it, came and moved back east to the beautiful state of Vermont, where my wife is originally from, and got involved with Stowe Cider and made a hobby turn into a profession.
Awesome. And so you stated in your mission there, it's crisp, dry ciders. So why specifically those ones compared to something that's a little bit more like heavy or unfiltered or hazy, something like that?
Yeah, so we do make hazy, but hazy doesn't necessarily mean heavy. You can have a hazy cider that's dry, which we do, and so at the end of fermentation, you can have a dry cider that isn't clarified, and so those things in my mind are just a little different. But the reality is that we all realize we need to watch what we're consuming, whether it be food or beverage related. And when you're talking, not dry, sweet, which was the most well-known cider, on the macro level or at the level that anybody knew, you could only have one. And then it was a little bit of regret and, whether it was that day or the next day. And so with that, we realized that by producing a cider that not only had less sugar, it also had a little more alcohol, which, not most people complain about. And so those two things in combination really seem to work out well. And fortunately for us, we were in my opinion, at the forefront of producing ciders on the dry side. And for us, when we say dry, we mean a couple grams of sugar. We have a sweetness scale on our cans that say super dry to Stowe sweet. And the joke is we would never make anything that sweet. We keep everything semi-dry or less. For us, semi-dry is roughly 7 grams of sugar per 16-ounce can. And when we came online making cider professionally, most of the ciders at that time contained anywhere from 20 to 30 grams of sugar per 12-ounce serving, which is, it's a lot.
And right now, I'm enjoying the high and dry, which is one of your ciders on the super dry scale. But my favorite, I think, of all the ones that I've had the opportunity to try was the apple haze, and that's the one I know Nick has right now. So, Nick, what do you think of that one?
Well, first of all, I apologize for saying hazy earlier when I was looking right at this can and completely, but I meant something different than what you were talking about. Obviously, I was going for something a little bit thicker and heavier when I had that in mind, but it is delicious. Definitely, nonetheless, I like it. I see exactly what you're saying when it comes to being light and really drinkable. Because I've been sipping this for a few minutes now, and I'm already half a can deep, and it's just completely crushable. I could drink a lot of this. It's super tasty. But yeah, I agree with Bianca. This one's definitely one of my favorites so far. But we also got to get into some of the other ones that you sent over, including some of the non-cider stuff that you guys offer. But to start, why don't you take us through your, I guess, all the time rotating lineup, or do you guys have anything that's seasonal right now or anything that's always in the shelves?
Yeah, so walk you a little bit through of Stowe Cider and our lineup in the series or different series of ciders that we make. We're figuring it out every day. So don't be surprised you wake up tomorrow and something's a little different. Our MO is always just to make things better, to make our consumers understand the product more, because cider being a bit newer on the craft beverage scene, it's a lot about education. So every time we have an opportunity to make something better or a little bit more easy to understand, we take advantage of that. And so I think what you're asking is we have a different set of series. We have our headliner series, and for us, we have a bit of a music undertone to our naming scheme, if you will. And so while you think Vermont, you think the Green Mountains, you think outdoor and active sports, that's very normal. But when you look at some of our names, you'll see there's a lot of music behind it. So that's kind of what drives us. If you're going to be out on a mountain bike or going skiing or snowboarding, you're going to be listening to music and often feeling that music. And so you'll see that's where the names often come from. So the headliners are going to be our core ciders that are offered year round. And that would be the high and dry, which is a super dry cider. It is filtered and preservative free. It is just straight fermented apples. There's nothing else in it. And that's what runs through my veins, more or less. That is, what makes us click as a company and how people know us, just being completely tart and unadulterated. And so that's a high and dry. The tips up is going to be neck and neck in terms of popularity, and that's going to be a semi-dry. That one comes in the green can. It's going to be a bit more apple forward. So there's some residual sugar and residual sweetness in that one, which makes it taste a bit more like apples, which I guess some of the more I don't want to say novice, but newer cider drinkers are coming to expect something that tastes like apples. And what we as cider makers are trying to do is educate and help the consumer understand, just like when you drink a glass of wine, you don't expect it to taste like grape juice. Cider isn't necessarily going to taste like apples or apple juice. And so that's kind of the gateway or the entry level cider for us is going to be the tips up in that semi-dry range. And then our safety meeting. And so that one for us is going to be the gateway for the beer drinkers. It is dry hopped with Citron Galaxy hops. When we first started making this cider, I would say 2015, you couldn't go wrong. And I still don't think you can go wrong with Citra and Galaxy hops. Am I right? I mean, if you're going to put some hops in there and guarantee it's going to make it taste good, it's going to be Citra and Galaxy. So Those are our 3 core ciders, and it's something for everybody. It's for that serious cider drinker who wants no sugar, unadulterated fermentation, or something a bit more apple forward, or something that kind of resembles a little bit of the beer world with the hops. The difference with the hop cider for us is that we don't do any boiling, so there's no brewing. You don't brew cider. We ferment. We're winemakers, and so when we dry hop, we're adding the hops at the end of the fermentation process to contribute citrus, flavors from the citra hops, or tropical fruit flavors from the galaxy hops. So it's more floral and much less bitter than a beer would be.
And as a craft beer drinker, that was definitely interesting to me. And it was the first time that I would consider myself definitely newer to the cider game. But it's the first time I'd ever seen a hopped cider. So that was super interesting and definitely different than something you see on the shelves all the time.
Cool.
And speaking of fruity flavors, we also got the opportunity to try that Vermont grown blueberry and maple syrup cider, which was phenomenal. And it was definitely not overly fruity, which I think is one of my favorite things about it. It's not like overpowering sweet, but it has such a great flavor. And also we saw that you recently, I think, was it yesterday, you announced your raspberry and honey cider, and that looks incredible.
So good. And the one thing I will, put a disclaimer behind, if you saw the social media post, Madison's hands were not actually squeezing the raspberries into every glass. We did that through our normal process. But yeah, so to speak to that point, we do have a full series. It's called Vermont Grown. The name, I think, gives it away. Everything in that can is Vermont grown and sourced, meaning we work with our friends, our neighbors, the local farmers and orchards to procure and source all of the ingredients that go into that. And so with the Vermont Grown series, it is no different than the rest, where we do keep it on the dry side. So with the blueberry and maple, we co-fermented the blueberry out, so there was zero residual sugar left there, and we back added the maple for a little bit of balance. But even though we added 12 gallons of maple syrup, the batch was just over 1,000 gallons. So the grams of sugar per 60-ounce can was roughly 3 grams. So it definitely remains on the drier side without being overly sweet.
And some of the other stuff that you guys offer actually isn't in this sort of alcoholic cider blends. One that we loved was the fresh press. Can you tell us a little bit about that series that you guys have, or that the one fresh press that you offer, and I guess the idea behind those?
Yeah, so fresh press, it holds a very special place in my heart because family is of the utmost importance to me as a person. And so the idea was born with my kids, believe it or not. And so we have a thing on Saturdays, at least during normal times. It's called Cider Saturdays. And so every Saturday we have live music. It's free to the public. Come in, free for all, first come, first serve, grab a table, enjoy some live music and beverages and maybe some light fare. As an owner, and especially of a small business and a growing business, I work a lot, and that's fine, that's well. But what was really important to me was to create an environment that my family felt comfortable joining in, and especially my family friends and their kids. So creating something that was a bit more stomachable for the parents, at least. So my kids would come down, the very early days, I'd give them, fresh pressed cider, because we'd have it obviously all the time. And for anybody who doesn't know the sugar content and what effects that has on a toddler, man, it's astronomical. So you give a kid apple juice, in this case, apple cider, there's 30 plus grams of sugar per 12-ounce serving. And that is, more sugar than anybody needs, let alone a kid. And so after enough days and nights of going home with kids who had been, chugging apple cider, visiting dad at work, I started putting a little bit of water in, and then we started carbonating the water, and all of a sudden this was born where it was a carbonated fresh pressed apple cider, but diluted with water. And so you've got this really fresh apple taste, but with bubbles and less sugar. And we started giving it to our employees and friends, and started kind of just making it our non-alcoholic option. And it was amazing the response that we got. And then all of a sudden it was the musicians who were playing in our venue, the Barrel Room or the Garden at Stowe Cider, where we host all of our live music. All of a sudden it was like, wow, I feel like I'm drinking, I'm socializing, I'm enjoying a craft beverage without A, having alcohol, or B, the sugar hangover that nobody needs. So it was kind of the best of both worlds in a sense. And it was born out of necessity as a parent to keep myself sane, and my kids in relatively one place. And since then it's rolling out to the greater public, which the feedback and response has been phenomenal. And so I'm excited to share it with the world, and really excited to see kind of where it goes. We have some other plans to roll out a few other non-alcoholic options, and I think they're going to be as popular, if not more popular, than the fresh press.
And the fresh press is definitely delicious. Yeah, it's, for that sort of non-alcoholic cider. I'm not a big sparkling water or anything really super bubbly drinker, but it was definitely something that I enjoyed drinking. And for the few that I was able to have and sip on, I definitely loved it. My girlfriend got to a couple before I could, but
nice. And what I will say, on that note, and it goes with any of our ciders, hard or non-alcoholic, you can cook with these, which is absolutely phenomenal. And then, whether you want to take it to the next level or not, you can mix drinks. And so we work with a lot of local distilleries, not only making and crafting unique cocktails with our hard ciders, but the non-alcoholic is a great substitute for a soda or a straight juice, because again, it has half the sugar content, but has the bubbles and the flavor profile of what you would want and expect out of a craft cocktail. Or again, we're making sauces or brining meats with these ciders, and so not only can you drink them, you can cook with them, or use them as a mixer. And what I like to do, especially with some of our limited release bottles, is, well, you drink some of it and cook with some of it. It's a little for me and a little for dinner. So.
And on cooking with it, I'm a big barbecue guy. I always have a smoker ready during the summers and springs and everything when the weather's a bit nicer, because I like to spend a lot of time outside cooking. But using this cider, and especially like something like the fresh press or something, would be awesome as sort of a mop for a brisket or a pulled pork or something, if you will, for anyone that
big time. Yeah, you totally nailed it. Please and send me some, because we love to taste test. So.
For sure.
One of the other ciders that is really different that we haven't really seen anywhere is that margarita. And the bottle is really, really cool. It totally goes with the vibe of your space in general. And for anyone who's listening who hasn't visited, I love everything about the inside of your spot. It's just the artwork and the walls, and it just feels so much like a really unique experience. But that margarita is so different. So can you tell us what is it that inspired that? Because you don't really see that at many different cider houses. And why did you go for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. For us, we're always pushing the envelope, and at the time you came, we had some limited release stuff, and I'm excited to talk about more of that. But for us, we're always trying to figure out, what's working in the industry, what makes us happy as people and consumers when we're tasting things. You can't go wrong with a margarita and the experience that you always have, right? I mean, I don't know many people who are margarita drinkers every day, right? So when you go out and you have a margarita, it's kind of an occasion. And so we wanted to take that same experience and put it in a bottle for our consumers. And so with that, we said, how can we make a cider taste similar to or represent a margarita? First and foremost, tequila, right? And so we took cider and we aged it in tequila barrels, which was a phenomenal start. But, without the lime and without the salt, you don't have a margarita. So with that was born the Cidra margarita. And so it's very complex. You get all of the aspects of a margarita, but with that twist of cider. So it's a cider, and with those flavors. For me, I was a Spanish major in college, and so having some sort of Spanish cocktail or a margarita made a lot of sense. And also, I put myself through college mostly by rolling burritos at a place called Illegal Pete's in Colorado. And the margaritas, they flowed like the salmon at Capistrano. They were very delicious and available all the time. And so it has a very special place in my heart. Illegal Pete's does, and the margaritas as well. So that's where that kind of came from.
And again, definitely something that was delicious. And I can see where you're saying where you really get that, that cider taste out of it and that cider mouthfeel and all. But with the lime and the salt and everything, especially the lime, was super apparent in it when you were drinking it. I know we poured it into margarita glasses when we were drinking it the other night, sitting on the couch, but definitely a good one to kind of keep that summer feel alive too, as we get into the colder weather. And while we have this nice little kind of heat wave that we got going on right now in November.
Totally. Yeah. And I guess what better time than now? And, I'm not going to spill the beans, and hopefully my marketing team doesn't get on my case too hard, but we did take some of the few tequila barrels that we had left over and blended them with some Tomcat barrels, which is a distillery here, Caledonia Spirits, known for their Bar Hill gin, or their Tomcat, which is the barrel aged version. So we blended our tequila with the Tomcat barrel aged, as well as some port barrels, and put those together. And we've got a really special barrel. We call it the barrel aged blend. Is coming out for our newly released, and I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this. Our Golden Apple Club is coming out and announcing Thursday, for the first time. So we're going to be releasing a barrel aged blend that's the best of all worlds, in my opinion.
Awesome. Well, don't worry, this won't be going up tonight or tomorrow, so you'll be in the clear.
It'll be perfect time.
All right, cut that out. Cut it out.
So the other, it looks like, again, music inspired, the rotating tracks series. I know I've tried the Stowe Cider Shandy for sure. We've had that around here in supermarkets, but can you tell us about some of the other ones, and even that one in the series, kind of when those come around and what each of them are?
Yeah, so that's thanks for bringing that up. The rotating tracks is really important to me as a cider maker and somebody who really enjoys using fresh ingredients and supporting local as much as possible. Granted, we don't grow lemons here, so I'm not going to say lemons are local. I'm going to be honest with you. But the reality is we call them rotating tracks. Number one is because it relates to the music theme. But number two is we don't call them seasonals because every year is different. And so growing up in the Northeast, living in Vermont, we make one. It's called Strawberry Fields, and it's got strawberry, mint, and lime. And if you're your macro or traditional or larger scale brewery or cidery, you have a timetable you're set to in order to put your quote seasonal release on the shelf. And I'm not going to force a product out that isn't ready, because we need to wait for the strawberries, right? And so there's some years it's the end of June or early July, and there's some years it's the middle of July until we get the strawberries. And it was mostly the Strawberry Fields that kind of drove that decision to say, you know what, it's not a seasonal, we're not going to put a strawberry on, and no offense to any but these Oktoberfest people, but like, you can't put it on 2 months before like the actual season starts. Like I think Christmas candy is now available before Halloween. Like the Reese's Pieces tree shapes are are out when you're going to buy your final bag of Halloween candy. And we're not going to that. We're going to wait for the fruit to become available and for the season to actually start. And so that's why we call our our seasonals, if you will, rotating tracks. And so with that, I believe you're sampling apple haze. That is full of fresh pressed apples in the fall. And so that's going to be our quote fall seasonal or a rotating track in that timeline. Then after that, we're going to move into our tuned up. If you've seen the tuned up, it's one of my favorites. It's got this artwork of the Stowe gondola and the cliff house on the front of it with the ski mountain. It makes you 100% ready for winter. But again, we're not going to make that and craft it until we get our hands on the fresh pressed cranberry juice that we've come to expect. And so again, that's it's all based on Mother Nature and the farms that are able to produce those things. And so that's tuned up, which comes out around or hopefully just before Thanksgiving. It's actually dropping tomorrow, but doesn't tell anybody. And so we're really excited about that. And that's cranberry and orange, very festive for that time of year. Then we move into the shandy, which comes out at the end of ski season, getting ready for spring and summer. And after that, it's going to be strawberry fields, which is strawberry, mint, and lime, and that's on strawberry season. Beyond that, without getting too long-winded, we have our hit singles, which are unique ciders, but definitely often utilizing local ingredients timed as well. So, the rosé, we've teamed up with Caledonia Spirits to do our gin and juice using their gin botanicals, which is very spring, appropriate. And so, we try to time that, but again, we're not forced into using, this timeline that's been created by retailers and distributors to say this, I need my Oktoberfest in May. Well, what happened? No, Oktoberfest is not happening until the fall, and you're gonna have to wait until it's actually ready and appropriate.
And the tuned up is definitely the artwork in the can is fitting for the season. I know I'm getting excited for snowboarding season to come around. So it's
hopefully make it up here to Stowe.
Yeah, I
Nick's
for
already
sure
planning
will.
his next trip.
Yeah, we have been. I got all my new stuff for the season, new boots and new bindings, new board coming in. So we're ready. My old stuff disappeared. So
well, I always, I got friends over at Burton. We got the pro deal going on, and you're a homie. So just let me know if you need some swag.
For sure. And so, are there any other different series, you guys? I know you have the Stowe Craft tea that we got to try. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. So I mentioned, we've gone through a lot of them, right? There are headliners that are available all year, the rotating tracks, which is our version of the seasonal, our hit singles, which are items that are made once per year and then done. Some of them come back year to year, like the rosé we've done because, well, we enjoy it. We want to make it again, and our consumers enjoy it as well. So we made that again. Some never come back. We always encourage our friends and fans to reach out to us to make new stuff. We've got our Brainwave series, which is experimental. It's very dreamy. They're items and ciders that are made out of dreams, essentially, and things that you wouldn't normally think about doing. And one of the recent ones would be our gummy bears. We had made that, and so we co-ferment gummy bears and then age it on Sour Patch Kids. And so it's like, well, it's candy without some of the guilt. You swap the sugar for the alcohol, which is a pretty good swap in my opinion. But and so that would be the gummy bears. We've done creamsicle flavors. We've done guava ginger. And just a lot of flavors that are a little against the grain or just a little bit experimental in that sense. But I think what you're talking about is going to be some of our more along the lines of malt beverage, which is going to be the teas, for example. And so with that, we're sticking to our roots. We do things gluten-free. So when we're making a tea, we're fermenting apples and making essentially an apple wine and blending it with sparkling water and real black tea. And the black tea, we work with a manufacturer to make it caffeine free. We're not trying to go for loco on it. We're trying to create something that is a bit more palatable and enjoyable and sustainable for the consumer. And so with that, with the teas, using real ingredients, keeping the sugar content low, 3 grams of sugar in a 12-ounce can, which in my opinion is pretty low. So that would be the teas. We've got a half and half version. I mean, you can't go without the Arnold Palmer, right? Everybody enjoys one of those, whether it's on the golf course or off. And then peach and tea, just so natural together. It's just so delicious. And then the seltzer line is no different than anything else we do, in the sense that we keep it little to no sugar and using real fruit. And, for us, that's really important. And we honor what the consumer is looking for in the sense that we keep it to the 5% range and 100 calories. So I'm not going to say it's totally guilt-free, but you're going to feel maybe a little bit better at the end of the night.
And those have really cool cans too. The inspiration in those, it looks almost like a really simple kind of old, almost retro sort of design. Is there a reason you chose that, or?
I've got to throw my hat off to Eric LaPuma, the Puminator, whatever you want to call him. He's our designer. Him and I go back and forth, and I think we are a match made in heaven. Don't tell my wife that, but the two of us, we work really well together, because we balance each other out, just like my wife and I do. But we balance each other out in the sense of we're different, but we're the same. And I know that doesn't make total sense to everybody, but the way we work together is we're able to communicate really well and find that happy balance and medium that really works for ourselves, for the consumer, and everybody involved, and can kind of create this community space where it's not one-sided. And that's what I love about working not only with Eric, but my team in general, is it isn't one person driving the ship. It's very much a collaborative effort from start to finish. While some ideas are born between one or two people, they always end up in a group setting where people have their ability to provide feedback. And so with Eric, he is extremely creative, and he is just on top of trends. And I don't think he's on top of them. I think he's setting them personally. Whenever I ever have any questions and he puts something out, and I let him have the creative freedom, I very quickly learn that he knows what he's doing, and he's hip. He's got it going on.
And speaking of Eric, you share the best, most human stuff to your Instagram. I think all of your employees, for the most part, are spotlighted here. So for anyone listening, definitely follow the Stowe Cider pages. You guys do a great job of kind of introducing all of your team members, making it feel really personal. So you're not just following the brand, but you're really a part of that brand and a part of everything that you have going on. And you have some fantastic hand squeezed cider photos on there too, even though they're not really hand squeezed. So can you just let everybody know where they can find you and where they can buy the cider for themselves?
Oh, certainly. Yeah. So, I mean, we are a Vermont-focused brand, and anything we can do to get our cider outside of Vermont to our friends, families, and fans, we do that. There are always obstacles in achieving that, whether that be distribution or, legal stuff. But the short story is that we distribute throughout New England, a little bit in upstate New York, New Jersey, and also online. We ship through our website, through Vino Shipper. And as I mentioned before, and thank you for clarifying that I'm not, releasing too many details too early. We're starting a cider club tomorrow. It is the Golden Apple Cider Club. It is the first and only way to get early access to our limited release items. So you're guaranteed one a rotating track with 2 limited release items. So you get 12 ciders per quarter. And you can register right through our website. Just follow us on Instagram and Facebook in order to find all those details. But definitely, if you go to our website, go to the Find Cider page, you'll find the retailer closest to you. But we love our retailers, but we love it when you visit us even more. So, when things kind of get back to normal, I think we throw the best parties around, and have the best fans and friends around. So help us continue to build that community and come visit.
Awesome. And by the time this release, like we said, that will be live. So we'll have links to everything down in the description below. You can go find the website. You can go see all the ciders. I'm excited to get back out to Stowe myself and have some more of the stuff in person with you and do some snowboarding out there as well. So thank you so much again for coming on, taking the time to talk to us. We had a great time visiting you in person and talking to you tonight. Look forward to it again in the future. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. Be well. Stay safe.
Be sure to follow us on social at Uncorked Corner and on the blog at uncorkedcorner.com for a taste of more food and beverage content.
And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe, rate, and review on whatever podcast platform you prefer. Thanks for listening.